welcome back to Stasis Geek. Now, my voice is back. I tried to do this review many a times. I think I got to 2 minutes and my voice just gave up. So my voice is back. Ish. So we'll see how we go. But the Continental. My takes on the Continental. Now, the first problem I have with the Continental is why? Why do we need a backstory of Winston? From the John Wick movies, played by Ian McShane, lovely known as always as Lovejoy. You don't. It's because Hollywood love a backstory. Oh, why? You just don't need it. So that's my problem. Is like, why is it even here? The Continental, I can understand. You know, you have in this quickly, you have Cormac, who's played by Mel Gibson, would have been a better story, and then the handover. But what they tried to do here is a couple of things and a couple of problems arise from it. They've got Winston. Now, everybody's seen the John Wick movies. Who's going to watch this? You're not going to watch this standalone. He is British. He has an English accent. And in this, they try to tell why ish in a way that he is British, but he's not. Because in this, he's from New York with his brother Frankie. They get in trouble and get taken under the wing of Cormac, and ill goes awry. And then Winston moves to England. And that's supposed to, I don't know, is that why he's got an accent later on? But in this, he has an American accent. And you're like, off the bat, it's why? Why did you do this story? You could have just had him come over. The reason is because they were like, we want it in the back because we need a young Winston, and let's have it in the 70s. Now, there's another problem with this, and it's the Frankie bit. Because the Frankie story is the interesting story. This show, without Frankie, there's no plot. Yeah? Spoilers, Frankie dies really early on. But the story of this is Frankie doesn't go to Hollywood. He comes back from Vietnam. So he's a Vietnam vet. Now, he comes back with his wife. Okay. But the time period and the clothing is going in from late 60s into early 70s. But that wouldn't be it. Let's say, because he goes under the wing of Cormac again and becomes, you know, I'm guessing part of the assassins group, under the table, that this has got to be 1978. You would think, just because if she come over from Vietnam, you look in that mass exodus is 1975, 76, ramping up. Yeah, so you're gonna think he would have been in the role, doing the job for at least a year. So let's say minimum 1977. So the clothing is off. Yeah, just because brain works in it. But it doesn't matter because this is fantasy world. Yeah, they're in New York. Everything's graffitied up, looks down rotten, and then also does the Continental. Now, it's all about Frankie, this plot. Because what Frankie does is he steals, I suppose, the casting machine for the coins. Why it's at the Continental and not in a more secure vault, don't know why. But this is run by Cormac, who's played by Mel Gibson. Now, I really was looking forward to Mel Gibson's part in this. I thought he'd been really good. I saw the trailer. I was like, oh, he looked quite good. I think he turned up and couldn't be bothered and just went, I'm just going to overact every single part of this. Because what he should have been is done his version, but up here as an elderly statement from the movie Payback. That kind of era. But he didn't. He just ramped it up and went, sod it, I can't be bothered. And that's it. Now, there is a couple of other issues, is because I'm guessing they wanted to tick boxes, and how 70s New York and the state of things in that time period, there's too many elements, different diversities, being a bit too friendly with each other and living in regions and pockets that they wouldn't live in. So you kind of go, oh, it's the things, I understand what they've done, and you wipe that over. Yeah? Now, it could have been done that they were friends just because of they all come back from Vietnam. That would be it. But they had to have a backstory for every character. And you're like, oh, Why? But then, of course, it all goes pear-shaped. Cormac goes to get Winston. I think at the time, I can't remember if he's in London or Paris, but they take him and then they bring him back because he'll know where his brother is because he's over the pond. It doesn't make sense. So they come back and he goes, you got to find your brother. We want our thing back, but we're not going to tell you what it is. And then, of course, he goes there. He goes to help his brother with his kick-ass, of course, Vietnamese wife. And then he dies. And then it plays into this really simple, we're going to have a revenge story. And this is where this show lets itself down. Because it tries to do things like John Wick, but then it just isn't. Because it's Winston. I suppose he feels like a statesman figure. He's the person who moves the pawns around in John Wick. So it's kind of, they make him a bit kick-ass and everything like that. Now, there are some other blinding issues. You've got his helps that all know, everybody knows martial arts, okay, because of the dad. Yeah, and that's it. But the weird bit, and I don't get why they did this, is the concierge. Yeah, they got a young concierge. And it's just a very weird scene. And it's because it wasn't set up. And it was just there. And it's another tick in the box. That they kind of have this interest with this violinist. Yeah? And the violinist is there. Or whatever, cello. I can't remember what it is. And then he gets selected to go to school. Wherever. I'm guessing a very famous music school. But then he goes to the concierge and goes, would you like to come with me? And it plays on this homosexual tone. That's not been shown. And that's it. And the concierge goes, he wants to. He doesn't. And then it just stops. And then Cormac, spoilers, kills the cello violinist, whatever. And that's it. He's dead. And you're like, okay, just killed him. What was the point of that? And it's all there to go, oh, look, we've ticked a box. Because it's not indicated, it wasn't needed, it wasn't part of the story, it's just a bit odd. Even when you're watching it, you're like, oh, are they going to play on this? This might be interesting. You know, there might be, he's kind of, because he's interesting, let's see how this, no, we just wanted to do it so we can just tick a box. You might as well just left it out, but I'm guessing it's there for a quota. It's literally there because it just doesn't make sense. But anyway, moving on from that, we got Cormac against Winston and his minions, let's call it. And then, of course, they do what they do in kind of, is it the John Wick 4? And they kind of storm it. But it's Winston storming it with the minions. And, of course, yeah, all goes things, happy days. And then it's a bit odd because after he wins, victory. Whee, Cormac's gone, blah, 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 you know. There's the adjudicator. That was an interesting character. She's wearing this, like, mask thing because she's got no lips. And she's got, looks quite cool, yeah? And she's got this Scottish counterpart that's her heavy, that does her bits. And I was like, oh, this could be an interesting character. You know, like, for season 2, it could be a nice playoff between Winston now's got the Continental because he just takes it, and then them going, okay, the rules are in place. This is, you know, we're an adjudicator. This is how it goes. But then he doesn't. He just shoots her. Reasons because they just wanted to. And that's the problem with this. It's played up a great storyline with Frankie, but as soon as Frankie dies, they just go into this, oh, what do we do now? Oh, just have a fight. You know, fight. And then they just forget about the actual story plot because it just turns into this chaos. And it's not the kind of chaos you had in John Wick where there's a reason he's doing all these fight scenes. They're just doing it to get the hotel. Why do they want the hotel? Because they want revenge on Cormac because it's his hotel. But do you really want the hotel? No, because you're not playing by the rules. So it's a bit odd. There are so little bits of like all callbacks from John Wick that they didn't think of. How did they get there? They just wanted to show it. You know, Lawrence Fishburne in it. He's underground people. They just switched the genders and they just have exactly the same. But why do we see it? Because we just need to see it. And it's just there because they do something with the coins afterwards. And you're like, but that's not in... Yeah, I can see you trying to develop the lore of John Wick, but it didn't need to be that. It needed to be a very simple story. And the more interesting story would have been is... on this, if have just Winston being there. He should have been the number 2 man of Cormac with the concierge, and he's being mentored to him. Frankie didn't need to be a story. It's just this because they thought of a plot line. And they could have had him kind of the guidance of how Cormac, you know, plays the games, you know, with all the different elements that there with the adjudicators and the table and all that, and then sending out the assassins and seeing how they act. Yeah, that could have been individual stories. 22 episode series, half an hour each. That would have been interesting. And then the adjudicator or whoever, I'm gonna say adjudicator because that plays dirty tricks on Cormac and Cormac dies. And the whole point is they install Winston, but Winston's got that I don't like you still. And then that would have made sense how it ended in John Wick. But it's a bit odd. It's just odd. It's an easily 6, and that's only because some of the fight scenes are good, you know, with Frankie. Otherwise from that, watch it if you like John Wick, because it's not bad, but it's just got holes because they just went, oh, we want to do John Wick thing. Oh, Winston thing. Yeah, reasons, don't need it. It would have been more interesting without, you know, Winston just give us another story about, you know, the high table and all that. It would have been interesting. But if you're not bothered, don't watch it. But yeah, give us your comments if you've watched it, and give us a like if you want to like. As always, Stasis Geek out.